fatal heart impact, past painful scars. In fact, I blast tasteful bars and pass. I back up my actions, fact don't ask, grab reactions, jacked attack with every word, then act with class as they hear me snap. I got nothing to lose, cause I fought and felt the bruise. Now I'm not the one confused, call the shots and they produce. I ain't lost, I'm finally loose, pick a new silver excuse. I need the views to boost me to a new abuse of being used. Everybody wants a piece now, y'all can rest in peace now. You're dead to me, so peace out. Remember, you're discreet out. Get ready for defeat now.
Alrighty, hello everybody. This is Kira's show here, and now, the reason why I do sound annoyed or uninterested in recording this, I've already recorded this multiple times and the audio fucks up. So, in order to stop that from happening, I'm going to be checking partway through the video, or at least at random points, to make sure my audio is actually being picked up and recorded. Anyways, now, whenever we last left off, we had Izuku Midoriya, and our interactions with Right in the last part. Now, Izuku Midoriya, he did, well, stay in jail the night, because police suspected him of committing murder. Now, with that being said, Izuku, he did actually spend the night in prison, and his mother did come the next morning after being notified. As we do have the interactions Midoriya does have with her, where she's very confused. Then we do have people who did come later, like Kirishima, Bakugo, Jiro, Toga, and even our bird boy, Tokoyami, that's his name. I honestly forgot it for a second, so I just called him Bird Boy. Anyways, now, with that being said, all of them are confused, as a police detective does come walking up and actually try to speak with Midoriya. Ask him a few questions through the bars, as a police officer does come walking up and say that he does believe that the boy is guilty. Pro heroes who have woken up, they have a hard time describing what they did see, since these two were fighting. Now, certain pro heroes have at least said that Midoriya, he was not as violent as the other symbiote, or the other, well, thing attacking. Now, Midoriya does go on saying that he was defending himself. He went out at night because he wanted to clear his head, and that he does not deserve to be in here, because the real murderer is still out there, talking about how they are going to kill again. Now, with that being said, the police detective does tell Midoriya that he does want to ask him a few questions. And over the course of the next few days, they will be putting together a timeline as to make sure he is okay, or that he is not the one who did all this. Now, it does come to a shock when Midoriya, he does just agree. And all the evidence they do gather over the course of the next few days, his alibis, the people he hangs out with, his mother, they all do start to piece it together. And it is found that Izuku, most of his alibis for the times of the murders are solid. There are at least one or two that do not add up sometimes. Since Midoriya was not around people, or he was by himself, presumably. However, there are a few things that do actually suggest Midoriya's innocence, since newly discovered bodies are found to possess the same injuries as the previous murders. Now, Midoriya is let go by the police officers, as we actually have the police investigator who does actually talk to Midoriya about how it's been about a week, and that he's very sorry for these guys. Now, the man's fumbling with the keys and just trying to find the right one. Midoriya, getting annoyed by this, he actually just say that he'll get it himself. As he does just pick up the jail cell door and completely just push it off of its hinges, and ripping it off the cement it was connected to. The man just looking at this as Midoriya, he does just then turn around and set the door down against it, turning to the cop and saying that, and that is why he stayed here. Oh, wait, you did that without, hmm? Yeah, I did. Now, if you excuse me, I need to go get some food. The shit you guys have been giving me has not been good. Now, the police detective does just tell Midoriya to come with him. He'll buy him a sandwich from the great sandwich place that they do have down the street, along with at least a cup of coffee or a cappuccino, whichever one he would prefer. Now, Midoriya does actually take up this offer, as him and the man do walk and talk. The man explaining to him that Toshinori did actually call him in, and Midoriya does look at the man a bit surprised. Ask him how exactly does he know All Might? Surprised you know his name, kid. Then again, he's told me a lot about you. I see. So, you do understand that Venom isn't a quirk then? Yes, I do. It's some sort of alien, right? Yeah, that's the best way to say it. Fuck. Just when everything's could not get any weirder with what is going on in life, this shit happens. Fucking aliens. Yeah, you're telling me. Then again, I've been with Venom for about a decade. A decade? It's pretty crazy. Yeah, it is. Now, Midoriya does learn that the man does know about One for All. And after talking a bit more, he eventually does leave, going to hang out with his friends. Now, over the course of this time, Midoriya is still believed to be in jail, as a plan is set up by Mr. Nezu and Pro Heroes, in conjunction with the police force. Now, basically, Midoriya will reveal himself at the sports festival, and he will call out this villain to show that he is not intimidated. Now, along with that, Mr. Nezu does actually take into account Midoriya's previous weaknesses, and they do believe that they can do something similar and take down the other, well, quirked individual, as they would refer to him as. Now, with all of that, Midoriya, we do actually cut up to the sports festival, where he does walk out and reveal himself, as he does grab the microphone and flat out say, "Surprise riot, you bastard. You could not get me." Everyone confused, as Midoriya would explain that just a week ago he was in prison, or in jail for murder. The villain who did this was part of the League of Villains. He believes that. And in fact, the man is still out there. He shares abilities just like him, and that disgusts him as much as he will admit. In fact, even more than he will. So, if this guy just wants to try and kill him, Midoriya is suiting up in Venom, as his face is still visible, talking about how both of them will go after him, and they will take him down. He can send however many villains he wants. He'll just make sure they're taken down and arrested. Now, Midoriya then actually just go on ranting a bit more, as it eventually turns into, "You can send a fucking army at me and I will still find you." Now, with that being said, Midoriya does fully suit up before crushing the microphone, and he then actually does throw his head back and let out a loud scream, talking about how they are the next generation. Now, everyone is weirdly encouraged by this, as we do have the race portion. Now, we actually do have Todoroki, who does try to create an ice wall. Deku actually dodging the wall and immediately being the first one out, as everyone else in canon, Momo, Bakugo, Kirishima, and I think someone else, they do get away from it. Now, Midoriya, he is in first place, as he's able to blitz everything and destroy the 0 pointers, showing off exactly how much power he does hold. Now, this actually does take everybody by surprise, since this kid, he's basically showing off All Might level feats, and he makes it to the finish line within just a few minutes. Now, with that being said, we will cut to the cavalry battle, where the teams are actually very different. Tokoyami is still on Deku's team, along with Toga, her wanting to be on a team with Harajuku. And we actually do have Jiro, who she was reluctant to join Izuku's team at first because of Venom and the way it reacts to her quirk. However, after learning about how Venom doesn't have that weakness anymore since it ate the fucking Nomu, yeah, she joins his team. Now, Midoriya actually is the only one on the ground, and he's holding these three up using one hand and Venom. As Tokoyami, he actually is, well, using Dark Shadow to make sure no one else gets close to them, whenever Deku is focused on something else. Along with that, Deku, he actually is using his spider webs and spider sense at a very, very good way. He's able to fight off any threat to them one-handed. Todoroki, Bakugo, and other students. Along with Ida actually trying to set out a reciprocal burst and take away the headband. Midoriya just throwing his hand up high and actually, doing one thing. Him putting spiderwebs against the ground. And Ida's team actually does get stuck in these webs as, well, everyone else behind Ida is sent flying over his shoulder and his team does lose. Now, with that being said, we actually do have the cavalry, well, not the cavalry battle, because Deku and his team win that, and they go into the battles. Now, we actually do have Todoroki, who he does pull Midoriya aside before everything just starts. Now, he does try to apologize for the way he was acting, since he lost it. He so much wants to believe Deku's All Might's secret son because of the fact that he's so powerful, and that he's basically second to him. Now, Deku, he does tell Todoroki that that does not matter. He knows who his father is, and he can tell him for a fact that it's not All Might. His father's name is Hisashi Midoriya. He's a businessman overseas, and he's watching the sports festival now. Now, with that being said, Todoroki, he does just ask Izuku if he can even really be sure. Does he know for a fact? And Midoriya just does one thing, asking Venom if he can show Todoroki exactly what he does mean. As he does just say that this will expose both him and Todoroki to each other's memories of the past. Now, Midoriya obviously tells Venom to just show him what he needs to see of his earlier life and nothing else. Now, with that, Todoroki would agree to see this evidence that All Might's not Deku's dad. And he does see Midoriya's childhood leading up to whenever his father does leave, and up to a point, just before his quirk is awakened. Now, with that, Deku also does see some of Todoroki's life, except he does see a little bit more, since Venom did want to pry a little bit to know more about this guy. Now, Deku would see Todoroki's life up until he awakened his quirk, the way he was treated by his father, and his mother's eventual mental breakdown. Now, with that being said, eventually these two they both get out of each other's heads. And Todoroki does just somewhat say that he apologizes. Deku talking about how he doesn't need to. Now, Deku would tell Shoto that he kinda does understand it, looking at things from his perspective. So, just give it a rest there. Now, Deku would then walk away, going to his first match, him versus Shinsho. Shinsho immediately noping the fuck out of the ring, turning around and walking out. He dealt with Deku once before, and he's not going to do that shit again. Now, everyone is confused as to why he forfeited. And then there is the next match, where it is him versus Jiro. Now, Deku versus Jiro does go a bit strangely, since people are watching Jiro as she's blasting pure sound waves directly at Deku as hard as she can. Now, they are watching as Deku, with the Venom symbiote, is actually just holding down against the ring, as his claws and hands are being pushed back. It getting to the point where whenever Deku he does actually get close enough and closes in on her, he actually is looking directly up at her, and he does actually finally just put his hand directly in front of her face, or his face directly in front of her hand, and he does actually just grab her hands and push them downwards. Now, all the damage done by Jiro's Soundwave attack does immediately get covered by Venom. Then watching as Midoriya's bursted eardrums, the capillaries in his eyes, his runny nose, and all the brain damage that did just happen, would go away after the match. After Jiro sent flying up into the air, however, she actually does try and go to recover. However, this is stopped whenever Midoriya does just catch her in his hands. And he actually just holds her, as she is kind of blushing. Deku just making the crude joke that it would seem like she just fell for him. Hey, you... I hate you. Huh? Why? Besides, can't really blame me. It was there. Now, Jiro does, just with a red face, jump out of Midoriya's hands, as she quickly does run off. The next match being the semifinals. Deku versus Bakugo. Or no. Who was another competitor? I think it would be Deku versus somebody else, but Deku would obviously win. Now, then there is the other thing, where Deku would go against Bakugo in the semifinals and ultimately win. Bakugo still being angered by the gap between him and Midoriya, especially since it seems like that his, explosions aren't doing as much damage as they previously were. Midoriya absorbing the shock of all that power. Only brief parts of his body being exposed before immediately being covered by Venom once again. Now, there is eventually what boils down to on the other bracket side. It boiling down to Todoroki versus Kirishima. Now, Kirishima, he does follow what All Might says to the letter. He does want to go above the 10% All Might has recommended him for. And he actually does do so by trying to use 20%. Him being able to try and knock stuff away as he's immediately frozen. and actually is then carried out of the ring. Now, that is how the final fight did go down. Kirishima did hold his own for a good portion, until ultimately being defeated. And then there is Deku versus Todoroki, where Todoroki would walk into the ring and he actually has go to looking into the stage, or onto the crowd, where he does see Endeavor. Midoriya immediately looking in that direction and seeing Endeavor, as Todoroki just does look at Midoriya before igniting his left side. Now, Endeavor does start to run to the front of the crowd and down to the very front row. The moment he does actually just get there, he does go to open his mouth before a large web covers his entire face. Now, Midoriya, he just keeps shooting webs until he not only covers Endeavor's face, but his fire beard does go out. Endeavor struggling to try and pull away the web as Todoroki does struggle not to laugh. Now, Endeavor ultimately does burn away the web as the fight does begin. And it's Midoriya versus Todoroki. Midoriya trying to strategize and use his fire side. However, he has no experience with this offensive ability. Or defensive, he doesn't really know. He doesn't know the best way to use it. Now, with that being said, Deku, he is able to avoid Todoroki, using fast movements to avoid Todoroki's strikes and just jumping into the air whenever he does need to, along with actually just whipping webs directly at him, which he does burn away. Now, eventually Midoriya does rush straight in and actually head for Todoroki. As soon as Todoroki does actually go to blast away at Midoriya with all this fire, Venom actually does go to move away from the portions. However, Midoriya, he actually does start moving away from Todoroki while trying to close the distance. As eventually it does actually have Midoriya with just his left hand covered in venom, as his sports festival uniform is being burned away. Midoriya being able to land a solid blow with a left hook. Before Todoroki, who does actually face away from Midoriya, the flames move away. Midoriya covering his right hand as he just directly smashes Todoroki as hard as he can into the wall. And Todoroki is sent flying out of the ring. Now, with that being said, Midoriya actually does stand there, as the rest of his clothing would burn away, as Venom does cover him with new clothing. Now, Midoriya ultimately does is bring his hands up as he actually does form claws. Now, everyone is surprised at this boy, and how fast he was able to win against the son of Endeavor. He just won all 3 categories of the sports festival. That's insane. Now, with that being said, there is after the ceremony, where Yaoyorozu, she actually does, well, own up to a bit of a bet she did make. With the final battle boiling down to 2 hot edgelords, she betted on the one with the half and half ability, since Midoriya did announce a month ago that he was weak to fire, and Todoroki just started using it. Now, with that being said, we actually do have where Midoriya, he's going to walk through the tunnel and meet up with everyone a bit of time later. And as he's walking through the tunnel, somebody actually does appear in it, this setting off Midoriya's spider sense, as he does turn around and does see somebody who is walking in. Now, he does just ask who they are, and they would then reveal who they are. Walking forwards as Midoriya would see Toga covered in a carnage symbiote. Now, she's asking Izuku if he can give her a hand. She doesn't know what to do with this thing. Now, Midoriya is taken aback, as Venom does tell Midoriya not to get in close. Midoriya moving in as Venom does cover him. Now, tendrils do shoot out towards Midoriya as he tries to close into the distance. And her face is covered by carnage, who does try to let out a scream. Now, Midoriya, he ultimately does close the distance before just slamming his hand directly onto Toga's face, ripping away the carnage symbiote as he actually does bring his hand up and grab Toga by her face, telling Venom to get a hold of the symbiote, or to at least get inside her own head to find out what's going on. Now, Venom does try to bond with Toga, and he actually does find the symbiote, does have a deeper connection with her. Now, he is able to talk to Carnage and calm it down, as the symbiote does retreat back into Toga's body, and she does just sit there, or lay there for 1 second. Midoriya actually asking her if she's alright, and her just shaking away her head asking if it's finally gone. What are you talking about? When did you get that thing? I don't know, but I don't understand it either. I black out and, well, wake up in places I don't know. Either I'm at home or, well, asleep. I don't know. Huh? It just feels like a storm is moving throughout my head. And I just feel crazy. All my thoughts are jumbled together. Okay. Midoriya asking Venom if he knows what's going on. Venom talking about how there's a storm inside that symbiote. And it's not just that. It appears that that thing is his offspring. Wait, your kid bonded to Toga? Wait, you can have children? Apparently so. However, I did not realize this happened. Okay, so you mind explaining to me why it's with her? I don't know. Some point across the line, maybe, I released it. It's just let go of me. I didn't realize. Then again, those thoughts in my head, our head, they've been something different. Maybe the Nomu had something to do with this. Huh? Shit. Now, Midoriya does tell Toga that he can explain everything he needs to her. However, she needs to give him that symbiote. Her saying that she can't, along with Venom trying to state that that thing could probably kill her from the inside out if they try and take it. So, essentially, that thing, well, she's that thing's hostage for now. Now, this is whenever Carnage actually does pop out, popping directly out of her shoulder as it does say a few jumbled words together, as Midoriya can only make out not leaving, before it does just pop back into Toga's body. Now, Midoriya and her do actually leave to try and meet up with everyone else. Midoriya is still unsteady about what's going on with Toga, as Chiro would pick up on this strange, well, energy around those two. Now, with that being said, I do believe that that is a good point to leave this part off of, and I do hope you guys enjoyed. Now, before you guys do go, this isn't important, you can skip this if you want to. Originally, the host of Carnage was going to be All Might, but I found a different way to make things happen. And, well, yeah. I found a way to make things a little bit more interesting. Now, with that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed. Have an amazing night. Catch you guys in the next part.